Hello everybody, Luke here, and I'm back again with another review. Today I'm reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This is the latest Marvel movie, and it looks like it's going to be one of the last movies for the Guardians of the Galaxy, at least from director James Gunn. Obviously went through some controversy. He was able to come back, but he said this is going to be it for Marvel. He's going to move on to DC. I think a lot of people have been hoping that this movie was going to redefine Marvel in a sense, or kind of give fans hope. You know, after the last few entries, they definitely have been kind of iffy. I think some have been better than others, but with this one, people have been really hoping, can we just kind of bring it back, just a good Marvel movie? And I can say, honestly, it was, but don't hold your breath. So if that sounds interesting, let's get right into the review. So if you've seen some of the trailers, this one looks a little more serious, and it is. The plot of the film is the Guardians' buddy, Rocket Raccoon, is currently injured. He's super hurt, and his life is on the line. So the Guardians have to go through this crazy plan to pretty much find who created him and get this kind of weird passcode, yada yada yada, a bunch of plot stuff, but pretty much to save his life. And throughout the film, one of the main things is that you learn about Rocket's backstory. It's really heart-wrenching, it's really sad, but it's honestly really different and insightful. Different in the sense that Marvel films have been very, kind of goofy, but that's the Marvel idea. It's always kind of supposed to be silly, but with this one, the backstory, which is refreshing because it honestly is really sad. And I'm going to talk about the fact that it's so sad later, but let's just talk about the movie itself. The backstory is sad, but it adds to the seriousness of the movie. I think that's something that you've been missing with some Marvel films. I think Doctor Strange, the newest one, the Multiverse of Madness, was a good example of that. They still kind of had the Marvel humor in it. And I guarantee you Ant-Man was probably like that too, the new one. I haven't seen that just because I'm waiting for it to go onto Disney+. But speaking of the tone of this movie, yes, while it is still serious, it obviously still has humor, because that's what Guardians of the Galaxy is known for. And honestly, I always think the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are probably the funniest out of the bunch. I think James Gunn is just a good writer. Just recently watched the holiday special because I needed to see it for this movie, and I found myself not really eye-rolling as much. I thought it was actually really funny, and the same thing goes for this third installment as well. Speaking of that, I had to watch the holiday special for this movie, but I haven't seen the newest Black Panther, and I haven't also seen the newest Ant-Man, so I was kind of nervous, but I actually think that's one of the strengths of this movie. I think with a lot of people, we were kind of fatigued from Marvel. It's so much now. You have to watch all the TV shows, then you have to watch all the movies, and they come out like once a month now. It just is a lot. But with this movie, it's pretty contained. You just need to watch the first Guardians, the second one, and the holiday special. A little bit. You don't really need to, but there is like something at the very end of the holiday special that kind of comes up in this one. But for the most part, you just need to watch the main movies. And that's honestly so refreshing. It's nice just to have a nice story condensed into a movie versus focusing on a plot that's going to extend for, the next 30 films, and there's all these and this and that and this and that. No, it's just contained, and that's what I liked about this a lot. And I think that's one of the strengths. It's funny because I was reading some reviews and people are saying, oh, it feels like another Marvel movie. Not really, in my opinion. Listen, I think with Marvel films from this point on, I don't think I'm ever going to be shocked and astounded and super happy after watching it. It's funny because when I left the theater, with the original ones, especially Infinity War and Endgame, everybody after the theater was talking about it, we're all excited. If you ever see that feeling you're going to enter the theater while everybody else is leaving and you're like, oh crap, they know something I don't know. That feeling's not really here anymore. But at least with this movie, it was still enjoyable. Just because though I don't get this crazy thrill doesn't mean the movie's bad by any means. It's still pretty good. I think it hits all the right spots, but at times a little too much. So a good example of that is the idea of the sadness. So how they tell the story of Rocket, it's not just right in the beginning of the movie and you just learn his backstory. It's through pieces. Throughout the film, it kind of flashes back to his upbringing, and it is really sad. But it's honestly so sad to the point that every time it went on screen and I knew it was going to be a flashback, I'm like, oh crap, where's my tissues? I'm about to cry. And by any means, it's not bad, and that honestly means it's pretty effective. But sometimes it's tough to go from these wisecracking Guardians to this really sad moment. It was a little awkward at times, but I would rather have these serious moments than just 2.5 hours of CGI goofiness, Besides that, I think the main villain is really effective. I think he honestly was a douchebag, really. He was a jerk. So that's the main villain. There is kind of a side villain from that Will Poulter. You know him from Maze Runner and We're the Millers. If you Google eyebrow kid, I think he pops up. He was kind of okay. I don't really know why he's in the movie. That's probably honestly the only thing I'm assuming they're going to start working on with the future films. He was okay. I mean, he wasn't like a bad character, but he just didn't really serve a purpose. So that kind of side villain, almost like B storyline, side plot, didn't really amount to much. One more thing, I guess one more complaint I would have is that because this is the third installment, and it seems that James Gunn, like I said, is going to be leaving, so he probably wants to wrap up at least his own story. Some of the way that the characters kind of act or interact or their feelings are kind of, it feels just a little rushed. Not bad by any means, but at times you could kind of feel like maybe he might, like, you could kind of feel that maybe one more movie would have helped, or even, God forbid I say this, but another Disney Plus TV series. I don't need any more, but it just seems like there's just like one thing kind of missing. The characters just acted a little differently, but it wasn't horrible. These shortcomings do not make a bad movie at all. I still think it was really enjoyable, and honestly, compared to every other Marvel movie I've seen recently, it's like one of the best ones in a long time. I really do mean that. It's nice that it's just, you can sit and enjoy a movie without having to focus on the next 20 other ones. Altogether, I'm going to give this movie 3.5 out of 4 stars. I love the Guardian movies. I think they're super funny. I think they're just colorful. Hey, listen, everybody's going to say, oh, it's another Marvel spectacle with a bunch of CGI. It's fun. It's fun, but at the same time touching. But not, like I said, it can be sometimes too touching, but not over. He does a good way of balancing both the humor and the serious notes to the best of his ability. I think it's a little iffy, but for the most part, I think he does a good job. And it makes for a more, not unique, but refreshing Marvel movie, especially after other ones like Thor, Love and Thunder and all these other ones. I usually would not recommend a Marvel movie. I usually would say, hey, just wait for it to go on Disney Plus, but this one I actually do recommend. So seriously, go out and see it. I think this will be one of the closest ones we'll see to like a really fun crowd that we haven't seen in a long time. There you go, that's my review. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe. You can hit one of these buttons over here, and I will see you all in the next video.